Daily Detroit is brought to you by the community. Support our work at patreon.com/dailydetroit.
Welcome to your Daily Detroit for Tuesday, July 23rd, 2019. I'm Jer Stays. Today on the show, Spirit Plaza is staying, the gold dollar burns, and a silent hike is coming to Detroit's Riverfront. That and more right after this. Daily Detroit is brought to you in part by Repurpose. That's where you can get hired by Detroit's best startups and companies. Repurpose connects top talent like you with purpose-driven companies based on values, experience, and culture fit. Join their talent community at repurpose.co. That's repurpose.co. First up, Spirit Plaza. The small park was created in 2017 by closing Woodward between Jefferson and Larned out front of the iconic Spirit of Detroit statue. It's drawn about 5,000 visitors a month, and we previously reported that Detroit City Council had voted to shut it down. But new week, new vote. In front of a full council, the park will become permanent by a 5-4 decision. Councilmember Andre Spivey was the swing vote, as he was not present last week when the park went down to defeat. Spirit Plaza has been a controversial use of space, especially for car-focused commuters into downtown office buildings. Critics said the park lengthened commutes and made it harder to get into nearby freeways. And, of course, that Detroit is the Motor City. Supporters liked that it created a walkable space for the public to enjoy with vendors, food trucks, and seating areas. The city's neighborhoods.org site now says that steps will be taken to ensure the plaza's permanency. Now that you have the news, here are my 2 cents. I say this as I live in the city. I'm personally all for this one. The most successful areas of Detroit are the ones that are walkable and welcoming, and 6 lanes of traffic in 4 directions is the absolute reverse of that. One criticism I would have is that they need to move that bus stop on Jefferson maybe about 20 or 30 feet. It's just awkward where it is now. And another thing, and this is one thing I wanted to note here too, I'd love to see the city do something with Hart Plaza. That's across the street there, but I get the idea that it'd be a very expensive undertaking. The bottom line, I think Detroit has made a lot of terrible design decisions in the last 20 years, and we're only now starting to catch up with the rest of the nation. And as to traffic, well, as someone who's lived in and been in other cities, we don't really know what real traffic is. After all, who are we building Detroit for? Residents or commuters? And for what it's worth, the city says that the plaza didn't impact traffic. Long term, I think it'd be better if we could build more garages so folks could get parked sooner and then get to their offices. One of the things I've noticed that's interesting about Detroit is that a lot of folks stay in their offices. They go to work and they don't go out for lunch. They don't go to dinner afterward. Yes, there are more people out there now, especially with folks like the Quicken family of companies and some younger folks. But I think about our food contributor, Randy Walker. He works a corporate day job. It is so hard for him to get his coworkers to come out of the building for lunch. It's crazy. For a good extra conversation around all of this, check out in the feed. I'll have a link in the show notes to my conversation with Bedrock's Vice President of Parking, Kevin Bopp. It's a good one. The legendary bar and music venue where the White Stripes started has burned. The gold dollar on Cass, and I can see the back of it from our window here at the Podcast Detroit Studios, had a fire last night. The place has a really interesting history, for a time as a beer garden, a drag club, and as a music venue. It's currently owned by a company controlled by the Illich family and had been left derelict for quite a while. As of this recording, the fire is being investigated as being likely arson, and there were no injuries. I just checked over there and crews were boarding the place up. So my drinking career was just getting started when this one was shut down, and let's be honest, my memories, they're a bit blurry. Here's hoping that this might spur some folks into action to do something. However, I'm skeptical because of the track record of the owners. My chips are going to be placed on landscaped, lit, fenced parking lot until I'm proven otherwise. Kid Rock is selling his Detroit home. The Riverfront mansion in the Joe Barry subdivision is on the market for $2.2 million. The Detroit News reports that the 6,000 square foot house was purchased in 2012, and in that time the owner, whose real name is Robert Ritchie, has made a lot of renovations. We'll link to it in the show notes. Joining me on the line from London is Murray Hildary. Welcome to Daily Detroit.
Thanks for having me.
You have a really interesting event coming up to the Detroit Riverfront next month called the Silent Hike. Where did you come up with this idea?
I had this idea because as a pianist and composer, I also am deeply inspired by nature. So I thought, what could be more immersive and inspiring than having the whole audience moving through nature with me and with music carrying us all. So that was the real inspiration for this experience.
So how does this work? It kind of reminds me of like a silent disco. That's where, if people don't know, it's where you wear headphones, but you can tune into different channels. It's really fun.
Right. So essentially, we're like our own radio station moving through the park. And we're going to be walking for about 90 minutes or so from one monument to the next, taking in the landscape while wearing these wireless headphones that, as you mentioned, sometimes they're used for like dance and disco events, but we're using them for a deeply reflective, contemplative, almost meditative experience. The music that'll be playing will be original compositions and live piano recordings of mine that I created. And I'll also be guiding the experience through the microphone that you can only hear in the headphones as well, that's layered over the music so that I can guide the experience, not just where we're going, but also a kind of guiding of the external and the internal landscape. And that's really the idea behind the Mind Travel Silent Hike experience, is it kind of fuses together this internal experience we have of our own internal landscape, and it connects it with our external landscape. And so the two kind of come together.
Well, and you've brought this experience to some pretty high-profile places. I mean, Central Park, Lincoln Center, Metropolitan Museum of Art. You know, it seems like there's a little bit of a higher purpose. And in my background, I saw that the mission is to move people to greater purpose in their lives through music. Can you kind of talk about that? And that it seems to be like a meditative experience.
That's right. In some ways, it's like a modern take on walking meditation, but we're taking it to a whole new level through the technology and the music. And, you know, typically in our lives, we're so busy, we're easily distracted with our, digital devices, our smartphones, social media. I mean, you name it, we're distracted and our attention is pulled in so many different directions. Through this experience, we create the space to connect within, to kind of open up creativity, to really connect with our deepest selves so that we can show up in life and choose kind of what's important to us. And we can show up and behave and be with the ones we love, how we want to be, our greatest selves. So when I talk about moving people to purpose, it's really about creating the space for them to reflect and connect to what's important to them. And sometimes it's easy to lose sight of that, to lose track of that in our, busy lives. So that's really the aspiration of this experience.
So why did you bring this to Detroit?
Yeah, so I've been taking this from city to city, country to country. I'm actually speaking to you now from London, where we'll be doing it this evening here in Kensington Gardens. We were in Berlin yesterday, Paris 2 days ago, and really this has become a universal experience that no matter where I take it, no matter what country, what background, what ethnicity, what religion, what culture, the experience resonates in the same way, because this experience is about creating that soundtrack to the human story. And beneath all our perceived differences, I believe there lies a common thread, a common human experience, a common human story. And so I said, you know what? I want to take this from coast to coast. This is not just about Los Angeles. This is not just about New York. This is about every city in between. So I'm getting in my van and I'm driving from New York all the way to the West Coast. And we're going to hit over 20 cities along the way. And, we chose Detroit along with other incredible cities in the Midwest and the South to bring it to places that might not ordinarily have an experience like this as easily as, accessible, especially because what I do doesn't exist. So I really want to bring it to new places. And Detroit specifically has had its history with difficult times, but now there's a lot of exciting things happening there. And it's very encouraging to see. But of course, there's still, a long way to go. So I would love to be a small part, if I can, of the solution and bring some magic to that incredible city.
So let's talk about when that magic's happening. I understand it's coming August 6th.
That's right. Yes. We'll be there and it'll be in the evening. All people have to do is show up. They get the headphones when they do. It's a free experience because we really want to make it fully accessible to everyone in the community. And so you just have to sign up, and we reserve the headphones for you.
Well, it sounds like something that I'm going to have to do on my birthday, because actually that is my actual birthday.
Oh, it's your birthday.
So,
oh, happy birthday. I'm also in August, a little later in the month. But it's a great month to be alive.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Murray, thank you so much for taking a few minutes to talk to us out of your busy schedule. And folks, be sure to check out this experience. We'll have a link to the show notes and all of that. Thank you for stopping by Daily Detroit.
Thank you for having me. Have a great day.
And before I let you go, I wanted to tell you about free ice cream, because free ice cream. And, well, it's the city of Detroit's birthday tomorrow on Wednesday. Hudsonville Ice Cream will be celebrating in Campus Martius Park. If you want some, get it tomorrow, Wednesday, the 24th, just reminding folks in case you're listening to this later, around lunchtime, from 11:30 in the morning to 1:30 p.m. And that's going to do it for today's show. If you like what we're doing, tell a friend about us. It's the best way to make sure more people know to push Detroit's conversation forward. Also, thanks to Andrew and Mike, who became patrons on dailydetroit.com/Patreon. You're awesome. Me and Sven, thank you very much. I'm Jer Stays. Take care of each other, and I'll see you around Detroit.
You're listening to the Podcast Detroit Network. Visit www.podcastdetroit.com for more information.